Taylor, Frankie, Paul, the Bachelorette, the ex-Mormon swinger. Here's some things you need to know. The issues here are kind of layered, and it relates to the harm caused to a child. So the first thing is this video that's going around from 3 years ago. It shows a number of things regarding criminal law. It shows a mother who started using a weapon when she was enraged. Now, I understand cycle of violence, and we can talk about cycle of violence. And the cycle of violence is a real thing, and often what is dealt with in the criminal justice system. But when, during that cycle of violence, one of the parties starts using weapons like this chair, like this stool, that could result in serious injury, that elevates things. That just changes the game. And here, it was her child that was nearby that did catch a stray and ended up being injured, even though her rage was directed at her boyfriend at the time. And that's an issue, because what we saw here with Taylor was something that I have a lot of compassion for. And it's when a person has been brought to a breaking point and they just go shark eyes, where nothing else matters and complete rage takes over. When a parent is unable to acknowledge the presence of their child, that shows an entire different level of criminal behavior and unsafe approaches to life. And so those are the first things that really stand out. And the other one is she was on felony probation and had another incident just recently. So not only is it that she has a new incident, but it was that she's now facing probation violation and may be going to prison. And so this constellation of issues of being on felony probation for using a weapon while your child was nearby and caught a stray, and then after going through probation services and going through mental health services and alcohol, substance abuse services, that 3 years later, you're engaged in exactly the same type of rage-based behavior, that just simply raises a safety concern. Anybody out there who's taken a side, one or the other, I don't take a side of anyone other than the kids who are in this situation, who seem to be constantly put at risk by a mother who is rage-filled and is also very concerned with her time, her attention, her viewers, when perhaps she should be paying attention to her children and her children's needs. And if she did that, she likely wouldn't be in this situation. I have a lot of compassion for Taylor and anybody who's involved in a cycle of violence. I suspect that she has absolutely been the victim multiple times of this man and other men. But in this instance, when it comes to slinging a stool that can be a weapon, that could be a dangerous instrument, that can, and has in the past, in other cases, resulted in serious physical injury and even death, the analysis just has to be different. So if Dakota did something where he entrapped her, where he kidnapped her and kept her imprisoned in the garage, he ought to be prosecuted for that. If he ever put his hands on her and caused an injury, he ought to be prosecuted for that. But we can't equate, when it comes to violence, emotional harm, words, and when somebody starts using a weapon in a place of rage such that they lose all awareness of the things that matter most to them: property, children, and their own well-being. And so this discussion requires a lot more nuance and conversation about the cycle of violence, but about how so many murders happen. And that's when people go brown out with rage, whether there's alcohol or other substances involved or not. But it's that brown out of rage that causes the person just to want to cause maximum harm, maximum mayhem. and injure another person. You hear all the time people in these situations say, I just don't care, I just don't care, I just don't care. That's the problem. They don't care about their own safety. They don't care about the safety or health of people that they supposedly love. And too many kids catch a stray like this, like happened here, when a parent is just in a place of absolute uncontrollable rage. So I don't have opinion about canceling or about whether they should show the show or do the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives or all those things. What I do see is a woman who has experienced real tragedy. And as a result of that tragedy, she experiences real rage and pity other people in her sphere when she hits that place. That's what so much criminal law is from, when people have one really bad day. Here, she's had two really bad days, and unfortunately, one of those bad days happened while she was on felony probation for using a weapon in a domestic violence situation when her child was in the room and was injured as a result of using that weapon. I'm Matt Long. I'm a former prosecutor. I'm a victim rights attorney. I'm a criminal defense attorney in Arizona. And I'm a child crimes and intimacy crimes expert. And I hold the opinion that we should ask more questions, get more information, and treat everybody in a situation, whether they be victim, villain, hero, stranger, witness, or reporter, with just a little more humanity.